when I was first diagnosed, I didn't want to believe that I was a diabetic, so I was like, no, I don't need insulin. Like, I'm just gonna go play basketball and my blood sugar will be fine. Like, so that was probably the first time. But now it's, I don't know. I gotta kick up my game.
Do you think you have good control?
No, not at all. My blood sugars range anywhere from like the 30s to the 400s recently, so that's a big scale. It's not fun. If I'm doing well, that means I'm anywhere from like 70 to 130 for a long amount of time, and I feel like I'm never in a long amount of time with a good number.
I'm Gavin Tarvis. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Armora. I've been diabetic since I was 11. I got diagnosed when I was 11 years old. I do feel like I have good control. Beyond just the number part of the diabetes, I feel good emotionally. I feel good physically most days. So that's all equally as important as how you're actually feeling with the numbers.
When I have an out of range blood sugar, yeah, I do feel guilty about it. 'Cause I know better, so I should do better, but I don't. So yeah, I feel guilty.
Why not?
What do you mean, why not?
Like, why don't you do better?
Because sometimes I feel like it controls my life and I want to have control of my life. So if I want to eat a donut, I kind of say, okay, I'm going to eat a donut. And then I suffer the consequences later. Even though I take my insulin when I do cover what I eat that's bad, it still affects my blood sugar negatively. So I'll still like skyrocket into the 300s, even though I took 10 units of insulin for one donut.
I feel like we can control our blood sugars to an extent with the foods we put into our body, how much exercise we get. And that's really it. Beyond that, we don't have control. Our pancreases don't work being type 1. We have to take shots and we have to check our blood sugar.
My mom and my doctor alike will definitely tell me when I'm doing something wrong. And that does make me feel bad. Especially because they'll be like, oh, what about when you're 70? And I'm like, but I'm 22 now. Like, I don't want to have to worry about stuff like that. But yeah, they definitely guilt me to feeling a certain way. Everything with diabetes has to, like, everything that I do now with it has to affect my future, unfortunately. So that means that if I take good care of myself now, I'll probably be good later. Yeah, I'm not doing very well. I hope I won't have complications when I'm older. I'm a pretty strong diabetic and asthmatic, so I don't know, I don't let things bother me. So hopefully when I'm 60, I'm still running and traveling like I want to.
Hopefully, you know, the hope is you grow up and you have a caring partner and support around you and a good job, and, you know, life doesn't always work like that, but, you know, what the heck. I'm hoping it does.
You ever lied about a blood sugar?
Absolutely. Every time I have a doctor's appointment and they're like, write down your blood sugars for a week, I'm like, oh, I forgot to do that. Let me just go through my meter and put in random numbers. So it's not technically a lie because they were my numbers, but they're not where they're supposed to be.
Have you ever lied about your blood sugar?
Absolutely. The doctors, my mom, my dad, you name it. I think most diabetics have.
Why?
That sense that they want to be better than what their numbers indicate at the time. Simple as that.
A1Cs you can't lie about. Like, your doctor's like, oh, this is what your blood sugars have been? Oh, I'll know if you're lying. Like, if I say that my blood sugars have been in the hundreds, my A1C better reflect that they've been in the 100s. Because if it's been in the 300s, your doctor's going to know about it. And if I'm not taking better care of myself, my doctor's going to make me feel bad about it. That's his job, I guess. I have neglected my diabetes, like, all the time, and I shouldn't.
I neglect my diabetes, you know, sometimes weekly by the dietary choices I make, in my opinion. But then again, it's never like a perfectionist thing, you know what I mean? You're always striving to be as good as you can be, but you have to make, you know, you got to make the right choices to be there, and not all the times do I make the right choices with it. So yeah, there's been times I neglect my diabetes through my diet and by my actions with like cigarettes and consuming alcohol, in my opinion. Those are two things that I've cut out that have really dramatically improved my sugar and just general well-being.
I neglect my diabetes as much as humanly, well, not as much as humanly possible. As much as I think I can, which to some people wouldn't be neglect at all.
This past week, I haven't had Lantus, which is the nighttime insulin, for a while. I've been taking a lot more regular insulin to try and cover that, but I shouldn't do that to begin with. I'm bad diabetic. Yeah, bad diabetic versus good diabetic. Technically, I should be watching everything I eat every time of the day. I should be checking my blood sugar as soon as I wake up in the morning, and I still haven't done that yet, and it's going on like 12 o'clock, right? Eating, I have a problem with too. Like, I'll forget to eat. I have too many classes. I have work. Like, I'll just forget, and then I'll forget to check my blood sugar. So that means that my blood sugar could go high because there's no insulin, there's no food. Yeah, I am living my life, and I'm trying this new thing where I want to be happy all the time, and it's working. Now I just have to throw in taking better care of myself. I would have to start checking my blood sugar every single morning when I wake up. I would have to check instead of guess how I feel before I eat, because I guess how I feel a lot. If I run out of test strips and I don't have the money to buy test strips, I might just fudge my numbers. I don't know. I was going off somewhere. Blood sugar's probably high right now because I can't think. I don't think I feel guilty anymore, probably because I've done it so much. Like, if I want the giant cookie from Wawa, I'm gonna eat the giant cookie from Wawa. I don't think I feel guilty anymore. I just deal with it. Why don't I just do what I'm supposed to do? Shouldn't people do what they're supposed to do every single day of their lives? Yeah, they should, but I don't know, sometimes I feel like I'm still a kid, and like, I just want to do what I want to do. Like, we all say that we should go to work, but we still call out. Like, it happens. There are some days I call out with my diabetes.
There is a lot of judgment from people who aren't diabetics who are like, you can't have that, or you shouldn't be having that, or are you allowed to have that? And I'm like, you know, I always tell people, like, especially if I'm getting snippy, I'm like, listen, I'm the diabetic. I'll make the decision about what I'm going to have. You know, like, no disrespect, but that's just the way it is, you know?
When somebody stares at you and they're like, oh, you should go to the bathroom to do that. And I'm like, no, I shouldn't. I shouldn't. Even my sister, like, we were in London. I would pull out my insulin to take it at the table, and she's like, you should go to the bathroom to do that. And I'm like, you should go to the bathroom every time your pancreas has to work. Like, I don't think that anybody really understands, like, pointing somebody out when they're taking their insulin. It's like, oh no, now I'm doing something wrong. And I don't think anybody with diabetes should feel wrong for having to take their medicine.
I hate going low. I hate it. You know, it's like, nobody likes it, but I'm scared. Very scared of it. It's very scary. It's life and death every single day.
Technically, life is fragile when you're a diabetic because everything's so complicated. Like, a high blood sugar can mean poor circulation throughout your entire body. So that means that your feet are going numb. Every time your feet go numb, you could have like diabetic neuropathy when you're older. I get so many bruises from my needles. Like, my fingertips are numb all the time. I don't think that people understand the depth of diabetes and how it affects somebody on an emotional level. The emotional side of diabetes, it's the getting up at like 3:30 in the morning and then crying because your blood sugar is too high or too low. Like, I can remember waking up and my blood sugar was 19. I could barely walk. I could barely see. Like, I was seeing black spots in my vision. I crawled up my stairs because I couldn't feel my legs. And I tore open some Nutter Butters laying on the kitchen floor and crying. Like, nobody was home. I could have died. That's an emotional part. Like, knowing that at any moment you could die. Too high, too low, it doesn't matter. And I don't think people understand that part of it. So somebody with diabetes could be like, oh, this is fine, I'm fine. and they're like really not inside. I feel like there is sort of a pressure to remain strong, just because you're supposed to have control over it. So like when you feel low in the middle of Five Below, you're just gonna open up some candy. You're not gonna be like crying. People like just expect you to take care of it. Sometimes I do feel like other people have more control than I do. But then the more I talk to them, the more I realize like they're just like me, like they're doing the same thing I am. They don't want to live like they're 40 in their 20s. I actually know somebody who's gone into ketoacidosis 3 times since being diagnosed. And that's something that you don't do. Like you have ketoacidosis before you're diagnosed. So it's pretty bad. Like I haven't done that yet. I don't think I will. I'm pretty good with that. I don't go high for extended amounts of time.
I mean, there's some people I know, I've heard of that just like die and suffer going comas because they just don't care. They don't check ever, you know. I mean, that's never me. I'll always check my blood sugar. I'll always take insulin, you know. But I guess all the other parts that go into it is what I neglect, you know.
When my life is out of control, my diabetes is out of control, it makes my life definitely harder. It's a lot. Especially because you feel sick on top of trying to do everything.
I feel like I have to be the spokesperson for the truth about diabetes, you know, which is that being a type 1 diabetic sucks, okay? You know, I mean, people always try to sugarcoat it, no pun intended, you know, like, it's like, so sometimes I feel like, yeah, you know what? No, I don't think you know the whole story about type 1 versus type 2, you know? Or, you know, I don't think you know the whole story about insulin.
I think despite me being a bad diabetic, my outlook on diabetes is a lot different. So anybody who's struggling with diabetes, like, and they feel down in the dumps about it, I think I'd be a good advocate because I don't let it bring me down. Because if I constantly let diabetes control my life, then there's going to be a lot more emotional downfalls to it. And I don't want that for my life. Like, I want my life to be positive. I want it to be fun. So it's kind of what you make of it. Just like a normal person would make their life better by doing positive things. Like, I feel like I just do the same thing, even though I have diabetes. I don't let it define me.
You know, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. And there's going to be nothing that's going to get in my way.
Once I started traveling, I knew I couldn't stop. Traveling with diabetes is a hassle, especially in like airports with insulin, because they're always like, oh, well, you have needles. That's not allowed on the plane. And I'm like, okay, but I have to take my insulin. Yeah, I would love to become a writer of some kind. I would love to edit, actually, and then just travel, because you can edit from anywhere. That's going to be in my future, no matter what. I've gone to London, Paris, Rome, Ireland, and then next summer I'm actually going to Italy, Greece, and Croatia. I don't know. I think I'm a firm believer in you can do anything even though you have diabetes, because I mean I have asthma too, and there are marathon runners with asthma. Like, if I want to be a journalist and travel for the rest of my life, then that's what I'm going to do. Diabetes isn't going to stop me. In your 20s, the diabetes can be a little difficult, especially like I like to drink, which isn't good. I've noticed that hard alcohol has less like sugar in it than like a mixed drink, so I tend to drink more hard alcohol, which can be also bad. I also really like wine. Red wine is okay. Like, I've noticed that it doesn't make my blood sugar fluctuate, but I also have to really drink it in moderation. I don't know, 22 is the time where I'm supposed to be free and doing what I want, and I get tired of trying to live like I'm 40 already. So I do slip up. There are nights where I drink too much. There are nights when I eat way too much chips, like just because I'm hanging out with friends and I don't care. Then my blood sugar's high the next day, so I shouldn't do that either. As much as people say like they want a long life, like I don't think I care if my life is long. It just depends on how I live it. And maybe that's why I'm kind of free-flowing with my diabetes, because I'm enjoying my life. And I think that's what I want most. I don't want to have to feel like there's something wrong all the time. I don't want to have to feel beaten down. So I just do what I have to do, and then everything's okay. Like, I have fun with my life, and that's why traveling is going to be good, because I'm just going to do it. So I'm not going to let anything, including my diabetes, bring that to a standstill. I don't care if I lose my leg. I'm still going to go to Africa and hobble around and be just fine. Like, it's not going to stop me.